Hey, up here. Yeah, it's me, the speaker. Yep, today's show is going to be about what I do best, audio. We live in a digital age of audio and video, but in reality, all audio starts out as analog. And over the years, there's been multiple ways to get analog audio into your machine and out as digital. Different cables, different standards, different techniques, different recording technologies. That's some of the things we'll talk about today in audio. At some point, it was real easy. Your record player and your speakers had a red wire and a white wire. And if they were really sophisticated, they had little jacks on them like this, so you didn't have to crimp the wire around a screw and clamp it down. This was your basic stereo setup, sending an analog signal from an analog device to an analog set of speakers. The most basic computer speakers are those still analog speakers. Left and right channel, very simple connector, usually replaced nowadays with a 3.5mm headphone jack, similar to what you'd see on an audio player that you'd carry with you. So what are all those other cables for? What do all those other connectors do? And how come every time I want to connect something I've got to something else I've got, they don't have the same set of connectors on either end? Well, the standards have been changing pretty quickly, all to give you more capabilities, better sound, and better picture. But let's see if we can simplify some of that for you. You've seen more complex speaker systems. 5.1, 7.1. In fact, if you've gone to a movie theater, you've probably heard sound coming from 22.2. And what does that all really mean? It means that they're digital speakers receiving ones and zeros from your computer or your sound system, decoding them, and sending the appropriate material out of each speaker. This is why the sound is different. This is why the sound effects in the movie theater can rumble around you. So how can you do something like this in your own home? You'll need an audio card that has a little extra capability. Here's an example of a card that's able to drive 5 speakers plus a subwoofer. Notice the different color jacks. Each of those jacks provides different output to each of the different speakers. Copper wire carries the music and voice from the card to your speakers. The other connector you see in yellow is a gaming port connector. This card is capable of 7.1. Notice the extra connectors on it. Also notice the gaming connector has been replaced by a digital output, the larger yellow one all the way in the right-hand part of the frame. This is for speaker systems that decode the signals in their box rather than drive individual speakers. Copper wires aren't the only way to get sound to your speakers. Notice the 2 connectors at the bottom of this card. They carry signals over an optical cable. Got a notebook? No problem. You can upgrade your notebook to 7.1 channel surround sound with a simple USB plug-in device. Now what about all those different cables? Well, let's take a walk down the cable aisle and see what does what. Digital optical, also called Toslink cables, look like no other cables at all. In fact, they look like little tiny flashlights at the end of wires. And in effect, that's pretty much what they are. Here's a close-up view of what one of those connectors looks like. A common misconception that most people have is that while HDI and DVI are related, that if you just hook into the DVI port of your television or monitor, you'll also get the audio. DVI, digital video interface, only carries the video part of the signal, so while it's possible to connect HDMI output to DVI input, you're going to lose the audio in the process. Only an HDMI cable carries both the audio and video signal that you're expecting to get from your computer, Blu-ray player, or other home entertainment device to your monitor. And as the convergence of computers and entertainment systems becomes more and more integrated, you'll even notice HDMI cables that have Ethernet capability built into them. Now, this isn't to say that there is still not a place in this world for plain old copper cables, but their capability to carry the complicated content that high-end entertainment systems demand these days makes them, well, kind of old school. Now, the kind of cable you pick really depends on what kind of speakers you're going to. So let's backtrack a level and start with the easiest one that most people have had hooked up to their computers for several years now. Good old-fashioned two-speaker stereo. The simplest type of speaker to connect is just stereo. Left channel, right channel, and whether you're using the red and white cables that we talked about before, or the 3.5mm jack, that's pretty much the most basic audio setup you can get out of a computer nowadays, and the one we see most frequently here in the store. Moving up a level in sophistication is the 2.1 speaker system, a subwoofer and a left and right channel. Most of these are also analog, as you can see by the connections made available, although we have had some customers come in with some higher-end 2.1 systems that only accepted digital output. Needless to say, plugging it into their old-school analog connections didn't give them the audio they were expecting to hear. Now we're talking, or at least now we're listening, with 5 channels of output plus a subwoofer. 5.1 and 7.1 systems are all digital, meaning the computer sends a series of zeros and ones down the wire or optical link to the speaker system, which decodes them and sends the appropriate output to each channel. So, long story short, one of the things you need to be looking at is what kind of outputs do you have available on your computer, Blu-ray player, audio components? What kind of inputs do you have on your large screen monitors? And where are you getting the media from to play, and in what format is it being provided to you? One of the things we've noticed in the store is a lot of people have bought components over the years, and as standards have changed, well, they can't connect this to that because. So planning ahead for the right cabling, right speakers, right adapters, right outputs, all is critical to creating your home entertainment system. Good luck building the surround sound system of your dreams. This is Tony from Micro Center. See you next time.